This is all about how to be a member of an audience for a talk or presentation. And this podcast is really aimed at you if you are a student and you need to attend a presentation given by another student. So apart from turning up on time and making sure you're in the right room, which is not always easy, by the way, that's all you need to worry about, yeah? So it's easy. You just sit and listen and try not to fall asleep. Well, the not falling asleep bit can be hard if you're attending a conference for a full day of presentations, but let's not worry about that for now. And actually there's a trick to taking a sneaky power nap during a presentation, but you probably figured that out, how to do that yourself. Anyway, so let's get on with the podcast. Well, being a member of an audience does require some skill, and this is often overlooked. If you're a university student, you are more likely to be assessed on your skills in presenting than your skills as an audience member, but the latter can be just as important as the former. So here are my top 3 tips for being a member of an audience. Tip 1, communicate. This happens even if you do not ask a question or make a comment. Just sitting in the audience means you're communicating something to the speaker. If you don't screw it up, you are communicating your interest in what the speaker has come to talk about.
I am listening, damn it, I am listening.
And a lot of people do screw this up because they forget that when they are a member of an audience, they are not only being communicated to, but are communicating back. And this communication is mostly non-verbal behavior. And people forget this. They lose track of what their face and posture and their what their face and posture are communicating. Now, Alan Clark, an MP from the UK from years ago, had a wonderful phrase that captures this, and he called it the facial disruption. There is nothing worse than looking out into an audience and just seeing a whole load of zombie faces. This might be because you're giving a dreadful talk, but actually usually it's just because people are not thinking about their facial expression. So you look around the room and half the audience are wearing faces like thunder. They look as though you have annoyed them or insulted them in some way, and the other half are looking distracted or sleepy, staring into space or at their phone.
Stop looking at me that way. I don't think I like it.
So when you're in the audience, smile and nod, but not too much. Don't be distracting in any way. Nodding is just great because it's an acknowledgement to the speaker that you can hear and understand them. It doesn't mean you necessarily agree with them. So it's okay to nod when you don't wholly agree with what's being said, but there are, of course, limits to that. If someone's talking about how great the Nazis were and the Holocaust never happened, then you perhaps wouldn't be nodding to that unless you love the Nazis.
Nazis. I hate these guys.
Now, give some verbal feedback as well, but keep this gentle, so when they tell a joke, laugh.
Yeah!
When the speaker makes an interesting point, you can go, something like that. But again, don't overpower, not too loud. Don't end up interrupting the speaker.
Interrupting
again? Unbelievable.
Tip 2 is asking questions and making comments. 3 parts to this: be quick, be kind, and be patient. So first of all, be quick. Usually there's only a very short period of time for questions, so you need to keep your questions short. And if you ask a long question, it means that other members of the audience won't get the chance to ask their questions. But if there's plenty of time for questions, you can relax a bit and ask a longer question.
Any questions?
Remember, when you ask a question, don't use that as an opportunity to tell everyone in the room about your work or your ideas. It's not about you.
See how brilliant I am?
Second part to this is be kind. So when you ask a question, say something nice to begin with and make sure it makes someone feel respected. You can ask critical questions, just do so while showing respect to the speaker. In fact, asking critical questions is great because it shows you're taking the speaker seriously. Just don't be a prick about it, you know?
Fine, be a jerk.
Now, if it's a presentation by a student and they're being assessed and you know the presenter, you know the student, ask that student beforehand if they want to prime you with a question. You know, a nice one that gives them the chance to show off what they know. It can also be good if the presenter doesn't have enough time in their presentation to mention something, but having you ask about that something gives them that extra time. This isn't really cheating, it's just helping. And the third part of this is be patient. Try not to ask questions during the presentation unless the presenter wants questions during the presentation. So if you ask a question halfway through a talk, it's like interrupting someone in the middle of a sentence. Or it's like responding to an idea that's only been half expressed. And it breaks the flow of the presentation, and the presenter may already have planned to address that question later on in their presentation. And the trick here is to be sure the presenter has said all they're going to say on that topic before you ask a question about that topic. And if you are worried that you'll forget the question, write it down and ask it at the end of your presentation. And tip 3, final tip for being a member of the audience, is feedback. After the talk, try to give the speaker some informal feedback.
That was a great speech.
If it's someone new to presenting, then give them some encouragement. If they are new to presenting, it's a really lonely time after you finish your presentation because you really don't have any idea how things went.
Were you scared?
Give them feedback. Now, if someone looked nervous during their presentation and they ask you if they look nervous, don't lie to them.
You look really nervous.
They know they look nervous. They won't believe you if you tell them that they didn't, and it'll just discredit any other positive feedback you give. They'll just think you're lying about that too. So just reassure them. Tell them a funny story about how you also gave a presentation where you were just a gibbering wreck. So let them know it is okay to be nervous. Everyone gets nervous at some time or another in a presentation.
I was so nervous, I became nauseous.
So if you do all of this, you will be a fabulous member of the audience. So that's the end of the podcast, and see you in the next one. Ta-da.